Hi guys, welcome to the next Alex T. Jones Racing Podcast. Today I'm talking about Mazda. So, at the end of the last video I was talking about Formula V, and so 2020 got to the point I just wanted to sell the V, and I was having a look at a few championships. I thought it needs to be something where you're not going to need an engine rebuild after every year, because it was just costing so much money for the V. I did go and have a look to see if at a Formula Ford event to see if some older spec Fords would work, but with the cost wise it was slightly above the V, even if it was an older model, and it was just amongst the lines of not wanting to spend so much. And we started looking at the different other open wheel, and I had a friend from the 750 who was racing in the Mazdas for a few years when we were on the same package, and we're still good friends now. He's called Jack Sycamore, and he's been well up the front of the grid in pretty much everything he's ever raced in. And we had a little chat to see about what type of Mazda to potentially get into, and then I was even having this chat with another guy called Luke Jones in 2017, and I wasn't taking Mazda seriously at that point because I don't know why, but I just wasn't. And so 2020 comes along, and it's just like, what Mazda championships should I get into? Because if you're unaware, there's quite a lot of Mazda racing out there. So you've got 5 Club with 750, and then you've also got the Mark 1s with the BRSEC, and then you've also got Mark 3, which I'm currently racing in the Mazda MX5 Super Cup. And I thought, well, the Mark 1s, there's a lot of championships, and you can even go to the MSVT track days as well, because you can run it there, even with the Mark 3. And so, funny story. So, Jack was always going to be the first point of Mazda, because I'd known him for a few years at that point, and I just thought, this has got to be serious. And I didn't do as much research into the Mark 3s compared to the Mark 1s, and I just thought, even if the Mark 1s, I didn't want to disrespect the Mark 1s at all, because the talent in there is insane right now. And I just thought, well, if I want to give it a go, it has to be the Mark 3s, because bigger championship, better pool talent. I thought, if I can make myself a name in the current series as I'm in now, it might open up a few more doors. And as we're finding out at the moment, it is one of the toughest championships I've ever raced in, and it's a lot of normal talent. But we'll get into the racing in a bit. But when I was talking to Jack, he knew a guy called Gary Townsend. And for anyone who doesn't know, he races in the TCRs right now. And I didn't... with Jack told me Gary was sending his Mark III, and so it was like, ooh. And normally when you go to buy a race car, you normally want to go and look at it, but from at that point, it was we were just coming into COVID, so I couldn't really go see the car, and I just knew I wanted to do it. And we knew that car, even in Gary's hands, was a fairly good car. And so the funny story about this car is I was literally talking to Jack, messaging Gary as well, and me and my dad had to make a decision so quickly because there was someone else trying to buy the car at the same time, and literally we had to get on the phone and call Gary's place and get the deposit down quickly. And it was so quick because we just beat someone else by a couple of minutes, and wow, I couldn't believe it. Even the guy on the phone was like, you got someone else ringing right now, and it was just so lucky to put the deposit down. So yeah, that's how I got the car. And then, because at that point as well, I was taking the research into the teams, and at that point I'd known Aidan for just less than a year at that point, and I was asking him about how much prices were, and asked like a few other teams, and I thought with the way it's going, we thought we weren't really going to actually be able to afford for that with some certain teams. And then did the research with Mike, got onto the phone with him, and hadn't met Mike before, but I'd heard about him. And so with Jack, we managed to agree with Mike for Mike to take the car. And then in early 21, I went up to Mike, said hello to the family and the mechanics, and it was like home really with Mike. From the very first test session, just building up in pace. And yeah, so 21 was the first season in it, and as you can imagine, like Fee wasn't setting the world alight at all as well. And so it got into 22 last year, and started doing more events, and then we did Silverstone, the full circuit, which I love to this day. And honestly, if you ever get the chance to do the full circuit at Silverstone, I would say do it. A lot of people don't like it. I do not know why, but it's amazing. It's amazing going through Maggots and Beckett's. I never managed to do the full circuit even on a test day, let alone in V. So I imagine in a single seater it must be amazing going through Maggots and Beckett's through that speed. Because I've been to Formula One since 2008 for Lewis's first win, and if anyone doesn't know, DC was my favourite driver when I was a kid, and it was his last year there, and I remember feeling gutted when he ended up going off right in, not directly in front, because me and Dad were up at Luffield. I think it was Luffield B, and we just looked up and we saw Vettel and DC just go off coming onto the Reddington Straight. I was like, no. But yeah, if you ever get the chance, do it. Anyway, so back to the Mazda, and yeah, with Mike, he was helping me last year, and then after Silverstone, we ended up going to Brands, and my development was starting to get a bit better, and the pace was not that far off actually at Brands. It was less than 2 seconds for the quali pace, and it was a few seconds behind on the race time properly. But yeah, I was got a few laps in. I was catching Dan Parent Smith, and I was like, wasn't really overtaking anyone at that point because you're just stuck in a train, and came out of paddock and unfortunately caught a slide way too late. And then when I did catch it, it was on the compression part when you're going down the hill, then suddenly going back up. I kind of caught it, but then I didn't. And at the same time, I was on the grass and went straight into the barrier. If anyone has seen Cars Are Racing, it's on there. It's not my finest moment. And yeah, it did set us back quite a bit of money. Had to get a new shell. Managed to finish the season, but wasn't much near the pace. But then for this year, the pace has definitely gone up. I've got so close this year to a class podium. If anyone's seen any of my Instagram stories, at Donington, I was so close. I should have overtaken Liz when I had the chance to go into the red gate. Didn't. If I'd overtaken her, I would have got that class podium, which I think I do deserve a podium. And but the talent, even, it's not just the front and the midfield. There's some good talent near the back as well. But for the ones who've been at the front, they've been in the Mazda for more than me, and but a lot of them have started in the Mark 1s, which, in all honesty, probably should have started in the Mark 1s as well, but you can't fault the ambition, can you? But yeah, so ended up this year with a no crashes in the Mazda. There was on the test day at Donington as well, we were in a test session with the TCRs, and it wasn't the best because you're just trying to focus on the next corner, and then all of a sudden, if you're going down a straight, you're lucky. And I was going down Craners, and I managed to see, because I'm with Porsche Racing this year, and he's racing with Ollie Cotton in the TCRs, and I saw him and I thought, I'll go over to the right, let him go, and then didn't see the next car, and but nothing really happened. It was just a glance on the door. It just moved the door slightly forward, but that's fine. Anyway, this season's been a good season because nothing's really happened apart from at the last weekend at Silverstone. The clutch / gearbox, definitely it needs a rebuild because I definitely lost third gear. I could only get second gear in that last race, and it was just gutting. And for anyone who's seen my highlights video, you hear me go, no! I can't believe how loud I shouted then. But the emotions you go through as a race driver is just amazing. Because I've only won one karting event, but I would love to be on that podium on cars. That's the goal for next year in the Mazdas, to actually get on that podium and get a class win. And my teammate Rob Way, who won it this year, won't be in it for next year, so there's a chance. I don't know who else is going to be in the club class for next year. I imagine the normal people I'm racing against, like I've had on occasion a few with Bruce Robinson, and a few others. It's just the development you need for this series is astounding, and we're definitely going to have to do a lot over the winter to actually try and get up there, because not only am I going to need an engine rebuild amongst a couple of other things, it's just, yeah. And we've got new tyres for next year. We're going to be on Kumos for next year. I need to get one test session with them in to see what they're like, because the tyres will react differently as well. So I can't just rely off the family money for next year to help me out. I'm trying to get a few sponsors to help me out. Got one person potentially helping me out for the first 2 rounds. It'll be good to properly say that when the time comes. But yeah, just trying to hit those sponsors up, waiting for our sponsors amongst that. Anyway, also I sent on Instagram for any potential questions, and I did get one, and lucky enough it was with Tom Smith, who was my teammate in 21-22, and he was asking how can I get faster. And for me to get faster, it's not just only getting engine rebuild and getting everything else ready, it's trying to get my race rate down and just trying to be more comfortable with the car, try to pick up engine speed more in the corners if possible, and get more confident. That's it. But yeah, I do want some more people to ask a few more questions, because one thing I will touch on as well, a lot of the things now is about the mental side in motorsport. And for me, I don't really talk about the mental side as much, because the way I was brought up, we never talked about the mental side apart from asking, are you okay? Just talk out what made us unhappy when we were kids. So yeah, just addressing it and then just talking it out. It's just makes you try to understand why. But yeah, although no one's asked me, I do want to say as well, talking about the mental side of motorsport, is the racing in general, because I don't know about many other drivers. I do want to ask them, but it's like trying to not engage my mind at all, really, in racing. I just want to be concentrated. I want to be focusing on what to do, and literally I try to react off instinct, even if it's not as well as some others out there. But yeah, so with the race starts in particular, not much is going through the mind apart from just focusing on when the green flag lap is going to happen, and potentially in the race notes, as we found out with Silverstone, your green flag lap is literally going to, as soon as you get out of the pits, your green flag is straight there, and then you get to the grid, and then the lights are straight out. But normally, when it is a green flag lap, I'm focusing on to see, particularly if it's wet, to see where that grip is, because in the wet, it is a different ball buster, because you don't want to go off as in so many revs. And to this day, I've not got a great start yet in the Mazda, and it's just trying to focus on the trying to get off in okay revs. And as I'm finding, a lot of the front guys are going off in higher revs, which I've tried and it doesn't suit me at all. So the revs I'll go off in, I need to try and see what I can do for next year to actually try and improve the race starts. Definitely. But yeah, if it's dry, it's just focusing on warming those tyres and brakes up for that race start. Because even if they're almost road tyres, you still need to warm them up. And yeah. But it's more about brake temperatures as well, apart from tyre temperatures. I don't want to give too much away about what I know about brakes, because it's going to give a competitive edge to some others. But yeah, if anyone's seen my green flag lap, I'm always warming up the tyres than normal, then going on the power, and then doing some braking down the straight, because it helps the brake temperatures a lot. But yes, one thing I do want to address though is with these Mazdas, although I've said about the talent in there, it's just, even though my best position was 17th at SNET, the quality in this field is amazing. And with Aiden, he has deserved the championship this year so much. He's been in the series for so long. He's a totally good driver, and I do want to get him on the podcast at some point for you guys to see what it takes to be a champion. But I will be talking to a few in the series. I know I will be talking to Richard Amos and Sam Smith at some point, and that's going to be a great episode. But for the first of the guests, I'm going to try and get a few of the Formula Vila on first before some of the Mazda. And so I do want to talk about other things in motorsport. I do hope you guys enjoy listening to this, and I just want to thank for everyone who's listened so far. Thank you for listening / watching, and I do hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, guys.